Great. So, greetings, and we are going to look at sentiment analysis part 2. We've already looked at part 1. And so, let's go straight and check what part 2 has for us. Great. So, okay. So, in sentiment analysis, this is what it's all about. Is first of all, proceed from text mining. After mining your text, then you proceed with the analysis. So you are looking at a text, maybe you are looking at reviews, or you are looking at emotions and whatsoever. So in the first place, there is a text, or there is some kind of writings with somewhere, and then you pick the writings, and the next thing you have to do is to mine. To mine means is like to search for some sentiment within the text. So you can search the sentiment. You can search. You have to first of all make sure you search or you mine the text. Either you are mining sentences or you are mining words. I've already spoken about that. So a few days ago, one of our MPs he wrote this particular text. I think that was an MP for Northton. So he said, I was on Metro TV Good Morning Ghana program today when news broke of a collapsed bridge in. So it's a whole article which is here. And so we are going to try our best and see whether we can make some kind of sentiment from it. And from there, we will try and look at another example as to how to visualize and make sense. All right. So this one is not reviews. It's somebody's text. Somebody has written his article. And we are going into that particular article to mine sentences, mine words, and then we can deduce the sentiment from the sentences or the sentiment from the words. And then we put together and see whether entirety we had more negative sentiment or positive sentiment. And then what were some of the emotions that we could deduce from the text. And that's what sentiment analysis is part of the natural language processing. So I'm just going to run this first line. And so what I have here, so I'm going to pull it up. So I'm creating this particular variable. And then you can see this quotation mark here. And then up to the last quotation mark here. Yeah, that is it. So what I'm going to do, if I run it, it's a whole line, one line. And so I've assigned the text to a vector, which is here. And so now if I print the vector, if I pull this up, you're going to see that the whole text is around here. And so wherever you see the backward slash, it means that's the end of a line. And then it's indicated by a full stop. Now, after I have done that, then the next thing for me to do is to make sure that there's a text I have assigned it to a vector. I need to go into that vector. This is a variable we created called example2. And then we get sentences. So it means we are going to mine sentences, not words. So I'm going to run that. And so now we have mined our sentences. So if we print this variable, we see that, and if I roll this up, you can see that we have mined mine our sentences. So we say get sentence function, and that is it. So we can see that they are now in sentences, and then we can see how they have been structured. So if we wanted to know, we could have just come here and say, what is it, a structure? And then we put this particular variable inside. So that's going to be maybe sentence underscore analysis. And then we run that. And to tell us the total, so there are about 1 to 14, about 1 to 14 different sentences which are there. So that is what we are doing for now. So we can check that. We can check the heading. So how many sentences were there? About 14 of them, 1 to 14. As a rule, you saw it. And so we sometimes too, we could decide to, after we have mined the sentences, we can put it in the form of a data frame. And so we use this table. Table is a function that comes with a tidyverse. So you need to load your tidyverse package and then you run that. And so in this case, when we print this, we're going to have, is going to be a data frame because we have used. And so you can see that the table is here, is much more of a data frame of 14 rows and then 1 column. And so this is the column. That is the That's a single column data frame. Yeah. So sometimes we like to use that very often. And so what's the next thing? So we could also mine words from the text. We could have also mined words from the text. So if I'd run this, so we could mine individual words. How many words did he use in all? And maybe, so we can see that he used 295 words, and then the last word was overcome, so which we can see here. Now it's a vector. So because it's a vector, we can do all sorts of analysis from here. So if we come here, and then let's say I say word underscore analysis. So if I have here word underscore analysis, so I bring the index function, let me say, run this. So what was the 14th word that he used? So you can see the 14th word he used was broke. So if we wanted to check from the 14th to the 28th words, I mean, what were the words that he used over there? So you just do this and then add 28. So from the 14th to the 28th word, I mean, these are the words: broke off, a collapse breach in my beloved constituency. After the show, I promptly traveled. So we are currently getting somewhere. This is how, because it's a vector, we've assigned it into a vector, and then we decided to get tokens. So we select each word and then we try to see. So now it's time for us to get the sentiment. So we're getting sentiment from the mined words, from the words we have just mined right now. So, mined sentences. So remember, we mine the sentences in two categories. We mine one and then we try to mine it in the form of a table. So, in the form of a data frame. So we get a sentiment from there, and let's see. And so I'm going to run that. So what do? You say you use the function called get sentiment, and then I'm getting the sentiment from the sentence analysis variable that we created, and the method is the Suzette. If you have listened to the first video, you will be quite familiar with this. So we've gotten the sentiment from there, and we are using this method. Now we can print the kind of sentiment that we have, and these are the sentences. And so we can see that from the 14 sentences that he made in the entire write-up, I mean, the first sentence was kind of like a negative sentiment. The second one was positive. The third one was neutral, as you can see. So we can see all, and then the sentiment that we could get from his sentences. I mean, the MP sentences. Now we could have also used this one. This one, we are using the variable we created with the data frame. That's the table. And so when we print that, let's see whether we're going to have something different. No, you can see that they are all the same. They are all the same. So what about if we wanted to also get the sentiment from each word that he used? So we could have also done that. So we decided to run this. And so we are getting the sentiment from each word. And so when we print this, we're going to have a whole lot of all the words that he used. And so all the words he used, we can check how many of them are negative words. And so we can see there's a negative word here. There's a negative word here. But do you know what the 0.7 something? In some places, you see, even though it's a negative word, but it's 0.25. So in terms, even though it's a negative word, but in terms of rating, we can say that about 25% is 25% negative. So it's near neutral, as compared to this, which is about 75% negative. So in terms of looking at whether the word is indeed a negative word, then you can look at the rating. And that's how the Suzette method is very good when you are doing sentiment analysis. Now, when we have done that, that's when we are analyzing word for word. And so I've already shown you the sentence by sentence. So there are other ways of doing that. We could have done that using the method called Suzette. We could do that getting the bin and then the affin and then the NRC. The NRC, sometimes we use that one to be able to get emotions, but I'm going to get to that. So I could just run the whole of this, all of this with different lines, and then we are good to go. So here, what we are simply saying is that we want to get a sentiment from the sentences using the method Suzette, the same thing using the method bin, the same thing using the method affin, and the same thing using the method NRC. So let's print the method NRC and let's see how do they do the rating? For them, they just, if the word is negative zero, it means that it's a neutral word. If it is one, it means a positive word, and if negative one, it means a negative word or negative sentiment. And that's what we are doing. We could put the results together of the Suzette, the Bean, the Affin, and all of them together. And then we decide to use R-bind to do that, and then pack the whole results into the variable called results. So that when we are printing the results, so you can now see each of them actually in a line. And now, before I continue from here, let me show you something under here. So using this particular variable that we have, the sentiment of this, and like I've already told you that whether you're using the Suzette, the Bean, they are all individual categories that people have used to be able to do sentiment analysis. So now when I come here, I can actually get the total or the average sentiment from his entire write-up. So what do? I can simply come here and say I'm looking for the mean of this particular variable here, of this particular variable which is there. So if I'm looking for the mean, so if I, and so you can see that the average sentiment from his write-up, from Okujetua Blackhorse write-up, is minus 0.13. So it was almost neutral. The sentiment was not much more negative because this number is closer to zero. So it's minus 0.13. That's about 13% negative. But in any case, it is negative. Is what is not neutral. So what on a scale is negative, but not too negative of a statement that of the entire write-up. So that's the mean. We could have also sum up and then look at the total. So we just say the sum, and then we put the variable name inside. And so we have this underscore, the Suzette. We could use any of them. And so the total sentiment that we can get from there is minus 1.85. So what is it? This is the total, what the sentiment that we can get from there. And then, so you can do that. You can, because it's now a vector, you can do all the kinds of vector analysis that you want to do with it. And so that is how it works. Now, when we go a bit, these are also, because we've already created a data frame, we could have also used column sums to be able to do this. To sum or to get the total. So we could see these are the column sums. So the first sentence is 1, the second is 3, then this, and then for that matter this. And so that's the column sum. So when you take the each of the methods that we have spoken about here, it would have been easy for us to check all the 14 sentences. Okay. Now, what about if we want to try and see whether we can get the emotions which were embedded in his write-up, the emotions from his write-up, from the article? You see, if you look at the article like this here, you can't be able to get any emotions here. You can't read this and be able to get emotions. So we can actually employ this type of analysis. And so what I'm saying is here, we are getting the emotions. So because we're getting the emotion, we're going to use the table function. And we are saying that we are using this particular function called the structure to lower. And then we use the sentence analysis. And then when we run that, so we have decided to convert the sentence analysis that we had already created as a variable. Remember, we created the sentence analysis, which is here. So when we got the sentences from this variable here, we packed it into this variable called sentence underscore analysis. And so when we got to the emotions, we go into that and convert into lower, assign it to a text in the form of a table, and then give it to this. And so when we do that, then we run it. And so we can print this and see how many emotions we can see. So we've assigned it as a text for now. But here, the function has splitted all of it. And then it's not time to get the emotions from there. So we say get nrc underscore sentiment. And then we go into the text variable and select the text because it's a data frame, because we use table to be able to make sure that we extracted the sentences from there. And so because we use table, it's now going to be a tabular, a data frame format. And so here we are getting the emotions. So we run that, and then when we print out this, we are going to see the emotions over there. And so if I roll this up, so look, if you look at his entire write-up, the emotions we have anger, anticipation, disgust, fear, joy, sadness, surprise, trust, negative, and then positive. So what happened is that it looks at the entire line and come to either assign it, and then we come here and look at whether there was a negative, because there were 14 lines, remember. There were 14 sentences. So sentence one, let's look at it. We can see wherever you see one, it means there is negative. When you see zero, it means what it is absent. And that's what we can see around here. Around here, we don't interpret it just the way it is. We have to get the total sums, and so we can make. But if I see here, it means in terms of anger, emotions, in the first sentence, there was no anger. Okay. Anticipation, yes, there was anticipation. Disgust, there was. Fear, there was. Disgust, there was no disgust, as you can see, zero. Fear, there was no fear. There was no joy. There was joy, there was fear, there was sadness, there was surprise, there was trust, and then there was negative statement, and then there was a negative connotation, and there was also a positive connotation in the first statement. We can do that for the rest of the statement as you see it. So let me roll it down, and then we can check again. So we come here, and then we just going to do column sums. So we go to sum, we get the total. So what is going to happen is that it's going to come here and sum everything here, and then it will give us a value. It will also come and sum the whole of this column, sum the whole of that column. And so when we run that, we have assigned that to emotion.bar, and then see. So in terms of anger, we can see the column sum here. Anticipation, we had more anticipation, disgust, and then in that order. So now we've had our column sums. We could also look at our row sums, and then that is just fine. So here we're going to create a data frame, and then count the emotions. And so we give the emotions names, and then we give a count to it. So we run that, and then when I print this out, so you can see if I roll this up, so you see that in terms, this is the count, this is the emotion. I think I've repeated this, but this, so we have here, in terms of anger, emotion, there are 5, as you can already see it is here. In terms of anticipation is 8, so as you can see is 8 is here. This is just kind of like a transpose. We just retransposed it, and then that is it. So, but with here, we can now plot a graph. We can now have a graph, and then those who don't like numbers, we could actually plot a graph, and then you see how it works. So this is how you do sentiment analysis, or you do text mining. So, and then it makes sense from it. This is how it is. This is how it works. Now, during the Fire Cookathon, you also saw this particular data. I will not do that one today. I've already done those analysis, and I'm leaving that one out. So this is how it works. Now, this part is like I've revised yesterday's video. Now, there can also be an instance where it's not just a particular text, but there are reviews. People have reviewed some kind of work, and then you want to examine their review and see how much of the reviews were good, how much were, like, for instance, you have a product, you've launched it in the market, and you want to track how people are reacting to that particular product. And most of us, when we buy things, and then you are going to use a phone, and then they are asking you questions, or you want to download an app, you want to launch it, and then they tell you somewhere you need to click OK for this or this. We are answering questionnaire, and then that's a review. So those reviews are always gathered. Now let me show you an example. So here, I'm not the owner of this data. I got it online, and so you can see this is a restaurant, and then you have like foods, you have street food, you have sandwich, pizza, beverages, and then the cuisines and whatsoever. Now, the people have given their review in this particular column. So let me do this. So look at the reviews. So I can see what I can just read one. Not a good place. or what the overrated items. I ordered potato twister, which was half baked and overpriced. Not good. What is it? Something. A lot of, so somebody has written. So many people have written their reviews about what they place, and then in that order. We are not interested in the rest. So, but when you look at a text like this, it's very difficult to make sense. And this is why sentiment analysis is very important. So you see, some people though do not give any review. That's fine. So those that have given review, look at the whole of this text. You won't be able to make sense. If you are a data analyst, you can't provide any advice to the owner of the restaurant. So what do? We have to enter into something like we have to go into sentiment analysis and see what kind of sentiment do we derive from here. And so let's get back to R. So I've already got the data, which is seated. You see that it is seated here, and then you can see the directory. It is seated around here. This is the data set, as you can see, sentiment.csv. And so if I go back to R here, if you are following me, if you want to follow this tutorial, you make sure that you know the working directory in which you are. And so here you can see that it is found under my downloads, and under my downloads is found under this the directory called R tutorials, and then you could see the data where I got it from, recognition to the owner, and then this is the title, and then it's called restaurants underscore, and then in that order. If you want to know where the whole of this link comes from in R, it's very simple. We just have to do this. You say get working directory, and then when you do this and run it, you see that you can see that the working directory is here. And then that's all. The working directory is around here. Now, perhaps you want to change the working directory because maybe the last part, this particular folder here, is not found under downloads. So, okay, I have a separate video where I'll show you how to be able to change working directory. But now I have my working directory. I just need to say read.csv file. Then I'll just run it. And so the data has been packed into DF or data frame here. And so, but I just want to check only the review underscore lists. So because it's a data frame, I can use dollar to be able to select only that column. And so let me clear my console here. And so let me show you once again what I mean. The whole of this is a column. As we can see, is column M. All right. And so you can see the column title is review underscore list. It's the same thing. I come here. And so when I say data frame, because I've packed the data into this variable called data frame, I can now simply go ahead and then use dollar to select only that particular column. And so that way I print only that column. And so you can see that column has been printed, which is here. And then just for us to look at what the reviews were. But we've not printed all of them because I see printing, as you can see this red thing here. I should not have even run that line. It's going to waste my time. So now the next thing is to make sure that that particular column, we convert into as usual, into a data frame. So we use the table function. Table, which is here. Oh my God. It's taking time to, because it's a whole lot of data which is seated over there. Which I could. So this is taking a bit of my time. And so we use the table function to be able to make sure that we're going to mine the text. And then this particular function you are looking at here, when my cursor is moving, that's the extract to lower. Is simply to convert everything to lower so that you don't have a capital T here and there. We have a uniform. And then what are we converting? We are going to this data frame, selecting the first, or selecting this particular column, reviews underscore list, and then we change everything, assign it to a text. So we're converting it to a text, and then we pack it into this variable here. And then that is all. Now, when we do that, my arrow has freezed. Oh my God. I should not have run this line. That's where the problem is coming from. It's taking time. So the next thing would have been that we come to say we come to now get our emotions. As you can see, our emotions should have been here. So get underscore NRC underscore sentiment is also a function. And that function only picks out the emotions that So that function goes into the text, and then it will read the text and then get the emotions from there, and then assign values to the emotions. So you can see anger, you can see anticipation, you can see it will get all the emotions. And then we could have used the column sums to be able to do that, just like I did the app there. But I wanted us to get to some point, but my R is freeze for now. I don't know what the problem is. So because of that, I think I will leave the video. I will stop it here, and then do a part 3 for us to be able to see how to visualize it and then make a much more sense from what is sentiment analysis. But mostly, in the third video, I'll try my best and then show you how to be able to go into Twitter, Facebook, or go to any something like Alibaba, or you go to Amazon, and then to be able to extract some data, maybe from reviews of a product, and then bring it in, and then you are able to. So it's very simple. It's the same way. If we had a link URL, we could have just gone straight and then download it straight from the URL, and then, or we could download it to our local computer and then put it at a particular directory, then use this to run it, and then we assign it to a data frame, then we go ahead. But then we know whether the data was kept in a CSV format, Excel format. In that case, then we can do this. And then when we have done that, the next thing is for us to simply maybe convert everything into lower cases and make sure that it is we are using this particular same syntax here. Then from there, we can get our emotions from there. We can do our column sums. We can do our data frame, or we count, and then we are good to go. So this is basically how it works. So I will try and finish up, but at the moment, as you can see, my arrow is not moving. Nothing is freezed. Okay, so this is how it works, and thanks for being around. I will show you the third part of the video where I will finish what I was doing, and then you can get the entire scenario about sentiment analysis. Is that easy? Thank you. And don't forget to share the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.